A plumber from South London turned his workshop into a weapons factory. And what he built inside that small industrial unit in Wimbledon was enough to arm a small gang. Or worse, his name was Evan Girdlestone, 48 years old, from Colliers Wood. On paper, just another tradesman. But behind closed doors, he was using tools meant for fixing pipes to build guns meant for killing. The investigation began quietly in April 2023, when the National Crime Agency started picking up whispers about someone in South London converting blank firing replicas into fully functioning lethal weapons. At first, it sounded like just another rumour, until they looked closer. Blank firers are designed to look, sound and feel like real handguns, but they can't fire live rounds. In the wrong hands though, they can be modified. With enough skill, parts and nerve, they can be turned into real guns that fire real bullets. And Girdlestone had all three. He rented out an industrial unit on Lombard Road in Wimbledon, and there he began his own production line. Officers would later describe it as a mini factory, complete with lathes, drills, toolkits, and 3D printers used to make gun parts. Inside, he had an arsenal, 4 converted handguns, 4 unconverted blank firers, and 174 rounds of live ammunition. He even kept phone books nailed to a concrete wall, where he'd test fire his weapons. Police later found messages where he bragged about accidentally hitting himself with a ricochet during one of his tests. Forensic experts said the converted pistols were fully capable of firing live rounds, and the ammunition varied from 9mm to higher calibers. One of the recovered magazines even fit a Scorpion submachine gun, a weapon designed for rapid fire. In May 2023, the NCA decided it was time to move. They'd been watching him for weeks, gathering footage and building a case tight enough that he couldn't talk his way out of it. On May 18th, officers from the NCA's Armed Operations Unit waited as Girdlestone approached his parked car in Croydon. They swooped in and arrested him on the spot. Under the passenger seat, they found what they'd feared, a converted handgun, fitted with 2 loaded magazines. In the car were also traces of ammunition and tools used in weapon conversion. He was taken into custody while armed units raided his Wimbledon workshop. What they found confirmed everything. Converted firearms laid out on benches, imitation guns halfway through the process, live rounds boxed and labelled, and a pile of spent casings from previous test fires. Investigators even uncovered 3D printers suspected of being used to manufacture key parts for the conversions, a first for many of the officers involved. Each weapon seized showed clear evidence of home engineering. Barrels drilled open, restrictors removed, chambers reinforced to handle the pressure of a live round. They weren't crude experiments, they were fully working handguns. It became clear Girdlestone wasn't just a tinkerer. He was an armourer, reckless, deliberate and dangerous. Experts at the NCA's National Firearms Targeting Centre said his work was clean enough that some of the converted pistols were almost indistinguishable from factory-built weapons. When questioned, Girdlestone said little. He didn't deny owning the guns, but refused to explain why. What investigators did find, though, painted a picture of a man obsessed with his craft, someone who'd spent hours testing firing mechanisms, ordering blank firers online, and experimenting with new conversion techniques. His arrest didn't just pull illegal guns off the street, it may have prevented dozens more from being sold into London's criminal underworld. Each weapon could have fetched thousands on the black market. As NCA officers packed up the evidence from his workshop, they found everything laid out like an assembly line. Drills for barrel modification, files for slide adjustments, pliers, lubricants, all positioned perfectly. It was methodical, industrial, efficient. One officer said, "You could walk in there and think it was a small plumbing business until you looked at the wall and saw the bullet holes." Over the next few weeks, forensic teams tested the recovered weapons. Every single one was lethal. They also analysed residue patterns on the concrete wall, confirming multiple live test fires had taken place inside the unit. The NCA charged Girdlestone with 4 counts of possessing firearms, 3 counts of possessing ammunition, and 3 counts of converting blank firearms. At Croydon Crown Court, he pled guilty across a series of hearings. The evidence was impossible to argue against: 4 live handguns, hundreds of rounds, and physical proof of conversion. On the day of sentencing, the courtroom heard how the weapons could have ended up anywhere, in the hands of gang members, drug dealers, or even hitmen. Judge after judge in cases like this always say the same thing: every illegal gun on the street increases the risk of violence. And this time was no different. The judge described Girdlestone's actions as reckless and a grave danger to the public. He was sentenced to 7 years and 2 months in prison. After sentencing, Debbie Palmer Lawrence, head of the NCA's Armed Operations Unit, said, "As an armourer, Girdlestone was reckless and a real danger to the public. He is now in the right place after excellent work by a variety of NCA teams to build the rock-solid case against him." Tackling the criminal use of firearms is a key priority for the NCA. Behind the calm language of that statement lies a deeper truth. Converted firearms like these have become a growing threat in the UK. Blank firing replicas can be bought legally and cheaply, sometimes for less than £100, but with the right tools they can be turned into something deadly. In recent years, authorities have seen an increase in homemade or 3D printed weapons, often made by people with no criminal record. They're built quietly, tested indoors, and sold discreetly, until someone is caught, or worse, until one ends up used in a shooting. Girdlestone's case was a reminder of how the gun problem in Britain isn't always about smuggling from abroad. Sometimes it's built right here, piece by piece, by people who think they'll never be caught. The NCA's investigation shut down one of those domestic pipelines, and probably saved lives doing it. Inside that workshop, what started as curiosity turned into criminality. A plumber who once fixed leaks began producing weapons that could take lives. And in a single day, his so-called business ended, with officers pulling on gloves, counting bullets, and carrying out boxes marked Exhibit A. Evan Girdlestone will now spend the next 7 years behind bars. 7 years to think about how one obsession turned a plumbing tool bag into an armourer's bench. In a city already battling gun violence, his arrest wasn't just another headline. It was a message. If you try to manufacture weapons in the shadows, sooner or later the light will find you.